Hello, planners and parsimonists. My name is Devious Guy, and welcome back to Final Fantasy XVI, where we have just been introduced to the plan. And the plan is that we go to the Imperial capital, and then we break a mountain. And then the world will be safe, probably. Because then no more magic, and that means something or other. I've kind of forgotten a little bit. It's been a while since I last played, but I'm sure the game will catch us up on it. Oh, and I made the decision, like, I've been talking to other people who've been playing Final Fantasy XVI, and sort of talking to them about, like, my likes and dislikes about the combat system, and I've decided I'm going to start using some of the assistance rings, because one thing that really does annoy me is, like, I'm okay with the, like, you have to do, like, this. I'm fine with that. Like, that seems like a rhythm I can kind of get into. But when you also have to do, like, and then tell Torgal to go do a thing, that to me gets really kind of distracting because I kind of have to look down and to the left. So I'm using the Torgal ring, which will make him just act automatically and I don't have to think about it anymore. And sort of depending on how the game goes, how I feel about the combat system, maybe I'll use some of the other assistance rings as well. Because I want to have fun with this combat system. And I kind of feel like sometimes it kind of gets in the way of itself. Like, I already talked about that with, like, this combo thing. It is so inconsistent. Like, with the way that the timing works, where there are many, many times where I am very carefully, like, trying to match my pace and rhythm to it, and it just won't go off, even though I will insist that I am pressing the correct buttons because I'm concentrating really hard on it. And it just annoys me. And I thought about using just the auto attack ring, but the auto attack ring also automatically uses all your icon abilities, and that's a little bit too much. Like, because I do have fun sort of popping those, like making the decision about when to hit ignition on a bunch of enemies, for example. But yeah, I'll mess around with the assistance rings a little bit over the course of the game to try and figure out if there's not, like, a configuration of those that I like. I heard, for example, that using the ring that slows down when you're supposed to do the perfect dodge. There we go. Jeez. Enemies really are spongy in this game. Like, it really is a game that's sort of built around staggering an enemy as fast as possible and then doing your actual damage. And I guess in order to do that, I have to get more aggressive with the icon abilities. Because they're the ones that do real stagger damage. I would like to ride a chocobo. Hello.
You know what to do. It's over. That's enough. Stay down.
There we go.
There. Northreach.
Yes, but there, item. Let's see, where am I? Oh, I'm just at the Dragon's Eyrie, is where I am. I haven't been to Eastwatch. I wonder what's up there. But let's see. What else is here, then? Let's see, there's some lizards running around. Hello, lizard. Oh. Big chicken. That really looks like something that should have feathers. What the hell? There we go. so there's nothing really around here. Except environment and featherless bipeds, which I have learned from my studies of philosophy are people. Behold a man. So I take it that that is one of the mother crystals there. Looks a little different than on the map. I refuse to fight chocobos. I will not do it. Birds are friends. Featherless chocobos, on the other hand, well, those are just people, and I hate people.
The soldiers used to speak of a brothel, but that was north of the checkpoint. I hope the dame has friends in the south.
Huh, sort of a classic checkpoint camp.
You there? Fancy a drop of the Empire's finest?
Keep your hands to yourself. No one will buy anything that's been soured by a branded's touch.
Why is your job profession name a flesher? Just be a butcher. Please be a butcher. Don't be a flesher. Flesher is bad. Don't be that. That's not... Oh, I don't like that word. I do not like that word at all.
Like a plum for the apple of your eye.
What did you say was in these pies again?
Welcome, good... Ah. Bugger off, Branded. Can't you see I'm with a customer?
Hey, Obelisk.
You want something, you come back with your master. I won't sell to some stray brand.
Each one is handcrafted from
Okay, so I need to talk to that lady over there. Which you can tell because she's the only one who's colorful here. Like, really pay attention. Like, she's the only one who's at all colorful. Everyone else is drab and brown and gray and sort of like dusty purple or whatever. And then there's the lady who gets to have a color scheme. Ah, character design.
And what can I do for you? I'll be here if you need me.
With the right to confiscate any objects forbidden by the throne.
Not another step, Branded, or you'll be spending the night in a cell.
Okay. Aw. Invisible wall. I was hoping for, like... I'm hoping I could actually get into a fight. Oh, well.
Have you no other bearers? Those two look rather... used.
Used? Yes, but spent hardly. They've both at least a good year left in them.
It's sort of easy to think, by the way, that this is cartoonish. That this is like, oh my god, this is so, like, cartoonishly obviously evil. But no. This is what slave trading is. And is historically as well. That's how people were treated. That's a real thing that we did to other human beings.
A moment, my lady.
A moment? I doubt you could afford even that much of my time. Branded.
My mistake.
No, mine. Upon reflection, you don't have the scent of a branded about you. The flowers. Otto always did know how to please me. More than Sid ever did anyway.
Ooh, wow.
Do you think you could please me, Clive?
You're the dame.
Let us leave such impersonal titles to my less preferred clientele. You can call me Isabel. Otto assured me I could trust you. I can trust you, can't I?
The voice actor is earning her
Trust
pay.
me, yes, but why would you?
Help you? Because that's what we do. Long ago, Sid did me a kindness when no one else would. I have never forgotten that. Without it, I would not be where I am today. And so, I make it a point to do the same whenever possible. Which brings us here. To the final obstacle between you and whatever it is you seek in the holy capital. I fear the guards are not likely to let a masterless bearer pass unmolested. Unless...
Unless,
of course, his master deigned to appear. Yes, that will do nicely. But I shall expect a favor in return.
wait, what?
He has no fucking game. Oh boy, poor baby boy. He doesn't know what's happening. He does not understand.
However do they get that colour?
The fruit's not getting any fresher.
Poor little Clive. Like he's just been like, he was a teenager with with no game whatsoever, and then he was like an assassin for 13 years, and he never got to meet any women, and now he's like this big twunk ass handsome motherfucker, and he does not understand sex at all. He doesn't even know what it is.
What the hell are you doing?
Tut tut. We cannot have people thinking I tolerate disobedience from my branded.
She wasn't being
I
subtle,
know you gave me
Clive.
This, and no more my masters than you are. But it's not as if I can hide it.
From the moment you acquired it, that brand has done naught but take. But today, it is going to give you exactly what you want. Just play along.
Madame, back to the Vale already?
But of course, we must make ready to welcome you, my dear.
And who might this be?
Why, my new escort. The streets aren't safe for a girl, what with all the royalists about.
Well, don't work him too hard.
Well, that rather depends on you now, doesn't it? I'll see you all at sunset.
Oi, hold up. Another fucking branded. Oh, you're lucky you're with the dame. Now get out of my sight, filth.
That wasn't so bad.
It was a little bad.
Wasn't so bad. They might have recognized me.
But they didn't. And even if they had, they wouldn't have done anything about it. The gentlemen of the garrison are some of my best customers. We have an arrangement, as do you and I. Now, if you'd care to follow me, we can speak more at the Vale.
Doesn't seem like I have much of a choice.
I mean, no, because you did agree to enter this agreement, Clive. So, you know. But let's just go around looking at some stuff first. Let's see. What's out here? Some guys.
Not been half a moon since Bellinger's tour, and they'd have us march again.
That's what we signed up for.
Oh, he's drying laundry with wind magic. Poor guy. Just fuck. It's out here. There is wind. Just let him take a break. What the fuck? Why would you make him dry the laundry with wind? You could just hang it outside. lazy asshole dipshit.
Tonight?
That depends on how much you want to see.
Let's see. Ooh, treasure chest. Black blood found in a box. Excellent. Love to find black blood in a box.
I haven't seen you around the Vale of late. Oh, don't tell me you've grown tired of us.
It's not that. The garrisons are being called back to the capital. We're to join the legions.
Wow, it sucks to be you, dude. You should probably do an uprising or something about it.
That's the day done then. Drinks and the Vale.
How about the Vale, then drinks?
Haha, whiskey dick joke. No other items around? Nothing to pick up, nothing to find?
You bleeding shit-a-bed bearer!
And if anyone requests her company, tell them she is feeling unwell.
Madame, you look stunning.
As do you, my dear.
Shall I have one of the girls draw a bath?
That won't be necessary. Clive, my darling. Welcome to the Vale.
Oh, look, it's a building that looks exactly like all the other shit heap buildings in this game. I do miss a little bit. Like, the game is going for sort of grounded, realistic, air quotes, style. And this definitely, like, I have been around buildings that are, like almost medieval in origin. And they do look like this. Like, really old buildings. Yeah, usually they don't have glass windows like these, but usually, really old medieval buildings, yeah, they do tend to look like this. Like, there's a few of them around, you know? But it is this thing of, like, yeah, but I'm playing Final Fantasy, so I can't help but miss a little bit the slightly more wild, the slightly more outrageous, rather than this very, very grounded aesthetic. Which, I don't know. It's a balance, it's a mix.
Thank you for seeing me through the gates, my lady. I am in your debt.
Well, that was the whole point, wasn't it? And I told you, it's Isabel. Whatever wound you so tight, I wonder. It's certainly not Sid's influence.
You, mentioned a favor. What is it you'd have me do?
Clive, just flirt with her a little bit. She's very much trying to get you to flirt.
Girl, you needn't worry. They have yet to reach the checkpoint. Yes, Otto asked me to help them as well. But to answer your question, I need you to find someone for me. One of my girls. Tatienne has been gone for several days now, having left no word of explanation. And I've begun to fear the worst.
I feel as if I've spent my whole life searching for people. Though I can't say I'm any good at it.
I trust you'll do your best. Oh, and take this. Proof of that trust. And hopefully enough to keep prying eyes from looking too closely at that handsome face of yours. Now, I have matters to attend to at the Iron Flagon. If you find anything, ask for me there.
I should probably start here.
Oh, can't go inside. Fair enough. Yo!
If the dame has given you her trust, then you have ours as well. No, you are always welcome here at the Vale.
You don't have a thing? No. Okay. Hey, we have side quests. Ooh, side quests.
Well then. I suppose you'll need a little something to remember me by.
And I suppose I'll need to get my coin purse.
Yeah, dude, that's how this works. I am a little bit curious about exactly how they're gonna... Because, like... The history and intersection of, like... dark medieval fantasy and, like, the way that they use sex work and sex worker characters is spotty. It's a little... Like, I have some apprehension about this. So far, they seem to have sort of... Like, they do treat them with humanity, but I am worried that it's going to be a thing of, like, oh, look, someone's murdered a prostitute. And you need to worry about that because, like, it's that trope of, like, sex workers can only ever be tragic characters, you know? Which is like,
Sergeant's got it in for us two. As if either of us needs to brush up on our swordcraft.
He wouldn't doubt our swordcraft if he'd seen us down the Vale last night.
Where's your commanding officer, Branded? Don't you know the training grounds are for real soldiers?
Hey, you lost or something? Sorry, but the Imperial Guard's got no use for your kind. The infantry always needs more bodies, though.
I'm just passing through.
I don't bloody believe it. The bastard's wearing the moon and stars.
That'll be why he's strutting about like he owns the place.
The Dane laughed when we offered her our protection. You reckon this prick's really worth a couple of the Emperor's finest?
Couple of Emperor's finest?
I dare say there's ways of finding out. How about it, Branded? Care to show us how you earned that brooch?
I'd rather not.
Oh, no doubt. Only chivalrous souls that we are. Robin and I need to know the dame's being...
What a couple of fucking pantomime characters.
Fine. If it'll put your mind at ease.
Oh, and just so you know, I won't be holding back. I suggest you don't either.
Okay.
Take a moment to get ready if you need it. Wouldn't want you whining about an unfair fight.
Oh no, I'll kill you, happily. No problem.
Now, let's get the measure of you, shall we?
If that's what you want.
Cocky bastard. All right, let's be having you.
Oh, my dear boy, you couldn't have me if you tried.
Oh, and when you go crying to your mistress, tell her it was Leon who gave you the pounding. Use all the dirty tricks you want, Brandon.
I'm just gonna play with you for a bit. Fucking hell, you suck. Anyway.
So you know one end of a blade from the other.
It's over.
Kick his ass! Alright, get up and do something. I want to use a counterattack on you.
Fuck me.
Oh, now you ask nicely.
What the hell are you playing at, Leon? So it's a real challenge he wants, is it? Fine. Sword up, bearer. Let's have some fun, shall we? How the bearer win the dame's favour anyway?
By knowing when to hold my tongue for a start.
Anyway. I was just kind of fucking with them. Yeah, 8 experience points. Ha!
Can I go now?
Gregor's gas. The bastard didn't even break a sweat.
The dame's man or no, he's still a branded. Best hope the sergeant never hears about this.
Yeah, not after the bullocking he gave us for missing drills. Might be the old sod had a point.
I'll leave you to it.
Yeah, good bloody riddance. At least we know the dame's in safe hands, I suppose.
Do us a favour. If you have to tell the dame about this, tell her we got a good few hits in, eh?
No. No, I don't think I will.
The Emperor's finest, thrashed by a branded. The sergeant may be a surly bastard, but he had our number, all right. Extra drills it is, then.
I will say also, I quite like the animation for these guys. Because if you paid attention, while they were fighting, like, they used really bad attacks. Like, especially the guy with the sword. Like, he sort of ran at me and, like, swung his sword and unbalanced himself and kind of stumbled around. Like, so he is really fucking bad at it, actually.
Yeah, on second thought, maybe don't mention this to the dame. We wouldn't want you getting into trouble for brawling now, will we?
So, like, there was some attention paid there from the animators to make sure that these guys, like...
The bones fell favourably. To the Vale, then. What do you think? Nothing like a quick tumble on another man's coin.
I don't know how a bearer came by the moon and stars, but thank goodness I found you. Can I trust you to be discreet?
No.
About what?
About this. About what I wish to ask of you. About the fact that I, a humble creature, assist the Dame of the Vale in her endeavors. As unlikely as it may seem, there are those within the upper echelons of Sambraquois society who find the Empire's treatment of bearers to be barbaric.
All right. But what do you want from me?
This town is carried upon the backs of its bearers, and yet many would see their servants starve. Not for the want of coin, simple fare cost little more than a pittance, but to revel in the suffering of others, a simple act of cruelty. Contemptible though it is, my countrymen would sooner cut off their noses to spite their faces than see their bearers fed. And despite my best attempts at secrecy, my efforts to dole out comestibles have been noticed. Which brings me to my request. The brand upon your cheek affords you a certain freedom. A freedom I could sorely use.
Fine. What do you need me to do?
Oh, thank you. An extra meal may not seem like much, but it will make all the difference. Here, deliver these, but keep them hidden. Quickly now. What food I can provide goes where the need is greatest. And today, that happens to be the barracks. 3 bearers, overworked and underfed, not permitted a moment's rest.
It's no wonder so many die before their time.
Tragic, true, but do not let anger make you careless. People will view this act of mercy as an undermining of the Empire's authority. Be discreet for both our sakes, and for the sake of those we feed. Oh, and when you're finished, a word in the ear of one of the Dame's girls would be appreciated.
You won't be staying, then?
I'm afraid not. I am expected back in the capital, and have already risked much speaking with you this long.
Again, there's like a historical truth to this.
Curse is bad enough. We can't let people starve as well.
Favorably. To the Vale, then.
There's a historical truth to this, which is that in chattel slavery, for example, just in slavery in general, oftentimes, like, there was a very intentional policy of underfeeding slaves. Even though it made them worse at their work because they were starving, it also meant that they were easier to control. It meant that they were easier to abuse and brutalize, because they had less energy with which to fight back and much less energy for organizing with their fellow slaves in order to perhaps, you know, fight for their freedom. It was a very intentional thing that was done to basically just keep people as miserable as possible so they could be controlled.
I have something for you.
From the Chamberlain. Thank you. You need to leave. Now. Please.
Branded! Who told you to rest? Stoke those damn flames!
Look at her leg, by the way, and her hand.
If you've got a message for me, out with it. If not, return to your post.
She's already petrifying. She didn't look older than 20.
Heard the bones fell favourable.
Are you waiting for it to heal on its own? Hurry up!
Looks like now's not the time.
Okay. Ah. And we've got you. This is another thing. Have you heard of the concept of being sentenced to hard labor? Right? Like this is a prison sentence that I think some places they still do it. But like basically you were sentenced to do several years of hard labor, which meant you were stuck in a rock quarry somewhere just beating rocks with like pickaxes and stuff. And that also again is not productive work. Like that's not because there's a really overriding need for human beings to beat stones with pickaxes and turn them into smaller stones. It's not really a necessary form of labor. It's just a thing that you do to someone in order to immiserate them as a punishment. It's just like, here, do a whole bunch of hard work that is pointless. And again, the pointlessness of the work is the point. Right? Because if you do work that's actually meaningful, like if you were sentenced to hard labor and then you went and you built a road for someone that like, oh, this is really useful for a community, or if you went and you built a school somewhere and did work that was actually useful and productive, then you might feel good about that. Like that might actually be kind of fulfilling and meaningful. And even though you're being sentenced and punished by doing it, it's like, maybe that is something you can feel positive about in some way. So instead, we invent a category of work that is, this is pointless work, this is meaningless work, and you will just suffer while doing it, and it's, like, it's completely, there's no reason for you to do it, it's just we've told you to do it, so fuck you. The military will sometimes do that, where, like, if a soldier is being punished, they might be told to dig a ditch, and then fill the ditch in again, and then dig it one more time and fill it again. And I kind of can't help but think of that when I look at this guy drying out laundry with wind magic, even though it's already outside in the wind! It sort of reminds me of that, is what I'm saying.
You look like you need a rest.
Not half as much as I need this. Thank you. I don't eat it here, though. Not where anyone might see.
Has it always been this bad?
Yup.
Oh, it was worse before the Chamberlain. I'd be dead without him. Me and many others.
That's something at least.
They say now is not the time, but then when is the time?
Enough! Curse you! Get away from me! You'll work faster next time if you know what's good for you!
Here. It looks like you need it.
Chamberlain must have sent you. But alas, my work is far from over. If I don't go now, they'll beat me.
You need to rest.
Yeah, but what the fuck's he supposed to do, Clive?
I've wounds to heal and bones to mend.
And what of your own hurts?
They'll wait. As will my hunger. Thank you, though.
Yeah, but like, Clive, he can't say no. You know this. It's not like he can just be, yeah, no, I need to
Drover has
rest.
more regard for his cattle than the Empire does its bearers. Anyway, I'd better head to the Vale.
Like, seriously, Clive, what are you admonishing him for?
Bastard! Accident, my ass!
You should go sit down and rest. He can't, Clive. You know this.
All right. Are you here for business or pleasure?
Business, though not my own. The Chamberlain put me to work delivering food.
Ah, so he found someone to help him then. Just as well. I hear his friends back at court have been taking a little too much interest in him of late.
So he really is a Chamberlain.
There was a time when he was the Vale's most illustrious customer. Us girls thought of him as a generous uncle. He was one of the only people round here who seemed bothered by the way the Empire treats its bearers.
Rare for one in his position.
A fact not wasted on the dame. A little nudge from her is all it took, and he became the patron saint of Northreach's starving masses. My sisters and I may have lost an uncle, but bearers are being fed for a change, so we don't grumble. Much.
Glad to hear it.
Gives you faith, though, doesn't it? To know there are people out there like him. And you, for that matter. It's no wonder the dame's got a soft spot for you.
I better be going.
Hero Salts in chat says, Rosaria had slaves and Clive himself was one for 13 years, and yet he seems to struggle to understand how they're treated. Yeah, and that to me feels like a narrative conceit. Like, because Clive is the point of view character, because he is the way in which we gain entrance and access to this world and like are allowed to understand how it works, he has to ask stupid questions, right? Like he has to be kind of ignorant so people can explain how the world works to him so that we can see how the world works. And it does create some narrative dissonance because like you'd think Clive, if anyone, would have some understanding of everything that's going on here, but he kind of has to keep being a little bit stupid.
Excuse me, you there? The gentleman with the sword? I cannot help but notice you bear the moon and stars. So you are an associate of the dame's? Might I trouble you for some assistance? You'll be rewarded, of course.
And who exactly would I be assisting?
Oh, forgive me. I am Etienne, a humble merchant, though fortunate enough to count the dame among my acquaintances. I have business beyond these walls, but the guards have grown somewhat suspicious of my comings and goings of late. I was hoping someone might be kind enough to go in my stead. And who better than someone in the employ of the Vale's proprietress? Would you be willing to help a fellow in his hour of need?
Why not?
Marvelous. The task is simple enough. Pass through the gate and deliver packages to a few of my most valued clients. There are 3 in total: a grocer, an apothecary, and a distiller. You need only mention that the items you carry are fresh from the master's table.
Nothing dangerous, I hope.
Why, of course not. Merely trifles which folk beyond the checkpoint are keen to get their hands on. And though I cannot prevent you from peeking, I advise that you don't. Strongly advise.
Oh, so we're delivering dildos, basically. we just ran into the owner of Medieval Bad Dragon.
The markets are a very...
So another thing which has some truth to it is that brothels and like sex workers and like those echelons of society historically often were sites of a lot of social organizing. Historically were sites of a lot of community cohesion. Like, it depends very much on the circumstances and the context and the, like, geographic location and so on, but it is true that in many places around the world, like, in times sort of before, like, or rather between puritanical crusades to end sex work, like, to sort of, to destroy prostitution as a thing, like brothels and like brothel owners and sex workers tended to be like locuses of a hell of a lot of community organizing and a hell of a lot of this community in general. Like, this is obviously dramatization, but like it's not that unusual that like you could find records that in a town that the sex workers would get together and sort of deal with like distributing food and meals to people who were in trouble. Like that's a role that brothels and sex workers have served historically. Prostitutes built the Wild West, says someone in chat. Yeah, like that's a thing. Like in many of those frontier towns, the brothel and like the sex workers who called it home were sort of like a central point of community organizing and like really a glue that held a lot of those communities together. And it's one of those things again, I don't necessarily want to praise this game yet because we haven't quite seen how it treats sex work. But there is this like, you sort of get inculcated with a standard idea that prostitution and brothels and sex work is like, it's this filthy, disgusting, exploitative, abusive thing, fundamentally, and all sex workers always, everywhere, are abused, and that's like that's sort of the only, it's only a condition of exploitation, and no other facets exist to it. And obviously sex work in a lot of circumstances, in a lot of places, and under a lot of conditions is exploitative, right? Like it's not a thing that doesn't have problems. It has plenty of problems, but it is not all that it is, right? Like there is this sort of Puritan media culture thing around how sex work is treated as a historical force, how it is treated as a profession, how it is treated as a part of a community, and like, we all know that prostitution is the oldest profession in the world, right? Like, that's the thing that people say about it, and that's because it's kind of true. We have traded sexual favors for money, for barter, forever. Like, it had always been a part of how the social fabric of humanity has been constructed. It's always been there. And it is, as much as anything else, is a natural part of human community. And so the question isn't really, can we prevent this from happening entirely and stop it and stamp it out and make sure that no one ever does it? It's like, can we have this thing happen in a way that is safe, that is consensual, that is non-abusive, that is at least as safe as all other forms of labor, right? But like that's a thing that I have found very helpful in sort of unlearning a lot of negative stigma, is to sort of learn that no, actually, sex work is just another form of labor. Like, it's a form of labor, it's a form of work, basically like any other form, in that it can definitely be exploitative, it can be brutal, it can be cruel, like it can be all of those things. It can have all of the same problems as all other forms of labor, but it's not unique. It's not this special, separate category of stuff that is like apart from all other forms of labor. It is just a form of labor and should be thought of as a form of labor, as a form of like existing within a human community, a human society.
I warn you now, I don't sell to your kind, whether you have the coin or not. Where's your master anyway?
Etienne sent me.
Didn't know he had his own bearer. Business must be booming. All right, quickly now, before the guards notice.
Every jounce and jostle of this unexceptional leather sack is accompanied by an eerily melodic tinkling that is likely best ignored.
There's no burden off my back. And this is for Etienne.
All this for a drink.
Not just any drink. The very best. Specially distilled for my most discerning customers.
Oh, Gamer Girl bathwater.
They'll seize it before you can blink. You keep it well hidden, all right? If Etienne likes it, tell him there's more where that came from. For a price, of course.
Of course.
If I learn you let the guards find that bottle, you'll have me to answer to.
I have no business with Branded.
Well, I have business with you. A package. Fresh from the master's table.
I do not know you. Where is the merchant, Etienne?
Somewhere the gate guards won't be paying him or his affairs any mind.
Fine. Hand over the goods and be gone. This is lighter than usual. Branded, if I discover you have played me false...
I can always take it back.
You will do no such thing. Your master should cut out your insolent tongue. Had you been the tool of any other man, I would see you clapped in chains. Payment. Take it and get out of my sight.
Cigars.
Those cigars are worth more than your life. Do be careful.
Da 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 da. It's the motherfucking.
There's nothing here for your kind, Branded. Go on now. Shoot.
I have a delivery from Etienne. Fresh from the master's table.
Why didn't you say so? Times are hard. But this here'll make them less so.
It's definitely
For
a sex
while, at
toy of
least.
some kind.
Sorry about the welcome. I meant nothing by it. You wait right here. Here. You can tell Etienne I'm a man of my word.
Perfume.
Oriflamme's finest. Just as promised.
Perfume, cigars, and spirits. Someone has expensive tastes.
I bet it's the dame.
Question is, how can they afford to maintain them? I suppose there's only one way to find out.
I bet it's the dame. I bet it's for her. Because my girl fucks. And she likes her shit expensive.
Ah, you have returned.
I believe these are yours.
So, box of cigars. After the leaves of the tobacco plant are harvested, they are dried and cured for several moons to improve their flavor before being finally chopped and rolled inside a single uncut leaf. Though no other ingredients are added, the resulting cigars are possessed of all the distinct aromas of vanilla, cherry, and clove, essence of rose. It is said that the petals of 20 roses are required to distill a single drop of fragrant rose oil and brandy wine, a potent spirit made by distilling wine and then aging it in barrels for decades. As such, it remains a luxury even for the aristocracy.
Delightful. The dame will be pleased.
I called it!
You don't say. And would she be pleased to learn what you had to exchange for those items?
You mean the crystals? No need to be coy, my boy.
Why not just tell me in the first place?
An honest man wears deception like shackles about his ankles. I couldn't risk you stumbling under the gaze of the guards. After all, we both know the punishment for dealing in unsanctioned crystals, even such morsels as I provide. And if you don't know what this day's work may have cost you, then, well, I dare say you'll sleep all the better for it. Despite the risk, our friends beyond the wall gladly give their finest and most treasured wares for the paltry crumbs I trade in.
I didn't realize crystals were so scarce here.
As scarce as chocobo teeth, hence the thriving market for even the scantest fragments. Do you think it vulgar that I profit from the hardship of others?
Yes.
I think you're doing what you believe is necessary.
Yeah, indeed. And I don't doubt the dame would agree. A reward for a job well done. I have the goods I was commissioned to gather, and the guards are none the wiser. I thank you, as will our mutual friend when she hears of how you have aided me.
I called it. I called it. It was for her. Okay. Is that all of the side quests? Good. Let's see. Where was Isabel at?
I suppose you'll need a release.
She was up here, right?
Tatienne is very special to me. All of my girls are. I need to know what happened to her.
You wear the dame's brooch. She must trust you.
Enough to have me look for one of your colleagues. A woman by the name of Tatienne.
She's still missing then. Oh, if only I'd comforted her.
You saw her before she disappeared.
The day before, she was in tears. She'd lost her comb, a gift from the dame. It wasn't anything fancy, but you could tell it meant the world to her. You see, Tatienne was an orphan, and she looked upon the dame as a mother, as do we all.
So she was upset.
And I didn't lend her my shoulder. But perhaps someone else did. Tatienne shared a room. Her chambermaid may have seen something. She's over there, sitting by the pond.
Thank you. Let's see what her chambermaid can tell us then.
So you're the new escort the girls have been talking about. And you've already been sent off on an errand, eh? Poor boy. You'll be knackered before the real work begins later on tonight.
I'm told you share a bedchamber with Tatienne. Did she say anything to you before?
Before she went missing. Only that she needed to meet with someone. She did mention a name, but I know exactly who she meant.
You do?
Lad from the garrison. Annoying little shit. Spent every guil he earned on Tatienne, and picked fights with anyone else who tried to buy her time. Followed her around like a lost puppy. Tatienne was flattered at first, but it didn't take long for her to get scared.
Uh-oh.
She thought about saying something. But the dame was so proud of her for how much she was bringing in, and she didn't want to let her down.
Uh-oh.
This man from the garrison. Did you ever see him?
Of course I did. He tried to sneak into our room enough times. Slimy sod's got a scar over one eye. Claims he got it in battle.
You've been very helpful.
Don't let him get away with this. Find him, and you'll find her.
A man from the garrison. Seems a trip to the barracks is in order.
I don't like this.
Vale, then, is it?
I'm looking for a man with a scar over his eye.
Looking for a man? Does this look like a brothel, Branded? Fuck off.
Hold your tongue. He wears the dame's brooch. One word from him and the Vale's doors will be barred to us for good.
There's only one man in the garrison with a dodgy eye. His name's Yannick. I haven't seen him around lately, though.
On account of him being in war. Yeah, Yannick left a few days back. Said he had dealings with a merchant there.
The dame thanks you. Moor is the last village on the road to Oriflamme. I should let Isabel know where I'm headed.
Clive, tell me you bear good tidings.
That remains to be seen.
Oh, Tatienne, you could have told me.
This Yannick. The soldiers I spoke to believe he's in the village of Moor. According to them, he claimed to have some business with a merchant there. Though that wouldn't explain his continued absence.
And you plan on traveling to Moor to ascertain the truth?
Isn't that what you want?
Oh, it is, but I fear sending you there may cause more harm than good. The people of Moor are rather set in their ways. You'll find they have little love for bearers, and they will not hesitate to report one such as you to the constabulary. There is a man in Moor who owes me a favor. More than one, in fact. His name is Bertrand, and he works at the stables. Tell him I sent you.
I shall return as soon as I find something.
So someone in chat asked me what I think about the side quests, and it's a mixed bag. Some of them are just kind of tedious fetch quests, like very little except go here, do thing, come back, with like a very vague narrative justification for why you should do that. But then there's ones like the ones here in the city, like they do some world building. Holy shit, this is pretty. They do some world building, I think. Like, they do flesh out, like, the relationships and, like, the status of the world and how people are treated and, like, how people think of each other. And, like, what kind of society it is to live in. And I like those fine enough. Like, that's, like, those are sort of the last RPG elements of this game that are kind of left because Final Fantasy 16, whatever else it is, I hesitate to call this an RPG. I really frankly do. Because it is by far more of a Devil May Cry game. Like, it's much more of just like it's a fantasy action adventure game, right? The RPG elements on this game are entirely sort of
Watchtower.
Superfluous, frankly.
Wait, you're not one of us.
Get him, boy! Sick of
There we go. Okay, can't talk while fighting. Can't go inside the tower either. That's annoying. Nothing behind it. But like the RPG elements of this game are vestigial, right? Like it is not really an RPG in any meaningful way, I don't think. Doesn't mean it's a bad game, just means like I certainly do feel like this is not the kind of game that I would usually come to Final Fantasy IV, right? Like it is not the kind of game that I fell in love with when I fell in love with the Final Fantasy franchise. Doesn't mean it's bad, just means... And this is a direction that the franchise has been going since 13, basically. Like, basically since Final Fantasy 13, this has kind of been the way that Final Fantasy was going. That was the first game that had, like, the stacker gauge system that has become so... that has become so standard and which is also central to this game. That was the first game that sort of had your characters running around in like an action 3D action sort of format, and that continued. Like Final Fantasy 14 is an MMO obviously, but that continued into 15, which was fully a 3D action game where the RPG elements also were starting to get more and more vestigial. Oh, die, actually. And like Final Fantasy VII Remake kind of pulled back on that and reintroduced some RPG elements, like sort of brought the RPG elements back a little bit. And then Final Fantasy 16 is like the combat designer was the Devil May Cry guy, and you can tell because it's a Devil May Cry game in all but name.
You're late. What kept you?
Late for what?
Did they tell you nothing? A wild beast is savaging my boy. Well, don't just stand there gawping. Rescue him.
All right. Where is he?
My,
I see they've sent me a branded with a spine for a change. He's over that way, towards the coast. Go, and see that you kill the beast.
Someone in chat asked if Final Fantasy XII wasn't the first one with that, like, and no.
He didn't seem all that worried. Something's not right here. I need to be careful.
Final Fantasy XII was still very much an RPG.
What if I can help it?
Was still very much an RPG, like fully an RPG. Like between the licensing system, like it became more of an RPG when they released the Zodiac version of the game, but like it had more MMO elements, I will say. But it was still like it was a game entirely based around like choosing the right commands in battle, and like using elemental weaknesses, and like it had all the trappings of a classic RPG, in a way that this game really just kind of doesn't.
I'll deal with this.
As far as I know, there aren't even elemental weaknesses in this game. Not that I can tell, anyway.
No! You weren't supposed to kill Wolfie. You were supposed to die. Father will have you whipped for this. Bearers aren't supposed to win. They never win.
What is this? Your father said you were being attacked.
You're not supposed to talk. Stop looking at me like that. We were only having fun.
Having fun?
Why are you still speaking? Father will hear of this.
I will say the voice. Oh, good lord! The voice actor there sounded somewhat too old for the kid.
But it's not the wolf that's to blame. Someone needs to put an end to this before it happens again.
Yes. Yes.
You, Brandy, come here this instant. How dare you frighten my son? You slaughter his poor pet, and then have the gall to return, head held high. That wolf was trained. Better trained by far than your worthless kind. You are the entertainment, nothing more. And we are most certainly not entertained.
Nor am I. You'll pay for what you've done.
See? I told you, he talks too much. It's not right. I don't like him, Father.
You're not the branded I bought, are you? How dare you deceive me? Well, the sins of the slave are the sins of the master. Go, summon the unlucky wretch you answer to.
That unlucky wretch would be me. I'm my own master. I'm beholden to no one, and I take orders from no one.
Lies! Do you think I cannot see that brand on your face?
Shut your mouth and listen. Those bearers you killed, they were people. They felt fear and pain, just as you do. And unless you wish to share in their suffering, you would do well to remember we are not your playthings.
Father, he's scaring me.
How dare you threaten us? How dare you?
Can't we just buy another hound? A bigger one, a better one.
Of course, my son. I'll have the villagers fetch us another. With jaws powerful enough to nip this branded's head clean off his shoulders.
Can I not just please kill him?
I'm wasting my time. But I can't just leave those bearers lying out there. They deserve a proper burial. That much I can do at least. How How many bearers have lost their lives to this nobleman's sport?
More victims of the nobles' games. You must be Clive.
How do you know my name?
The Dame. I'm in her service, like yourself. Never gets any easier, burying the dead.
Is that what you're here to do?
The mistress has me see to it that none are left to the crows. Since you're here, can you give me a hand?
Gladly. Let's put them to rest.
May their burden finally be lifted. I take it you slew the nobleman's pet?
I did. Now I expect they'll find another soon enough. And when it gets here, more bearers will die. How can they think so little of sending us to the slaughter?
Simple. Because you are not them. Bearers are tools when they're needed, and toys when they're not. And if one breaks, well, you can always buy another. Still, such attitudes don't always go unpunished.
Good dog.
Is this you're doing?
Of course not. Wolves kill. It's in their nature. Invite one into your home, he's gonna tear your throat out eventually. Same with bearers. Fed or not, they don't lack for fangs. What will folk do when they bite back, I wonder? The realm's less two murderous bastards, and I won't mourn the loss. Here. For their help.
You don't have to.
Take it. You never know. Our paths may cross again. Till then.
Well, at least they died ironically. That's something. Okay, Clive, stand still.
Have you seen my Chloe? I let her out of her pen while I did my chores, but she hasn't come back yet. I think she's lost. Please, can you help me look for her?
I can't promise I'll find her, but I'll try. Describe her to me.
She has beautiful white hair. She lets me stroke her when I'm sad. She's ever such a good girl. So quiet and kind. And she likes walking in the wheat. I know the fields are big, but she's never got lost before. Oh, she must be starving too. She hasn't eaten anything since yesterday. It is my job to feed her.
In that case, let's not keep her waiting.
I have a bad feeling about where this is going.
It's a lot of field to search. With a little luck, someone might have seen her.
Clive, climb the what? Okay.
You work these fields? I need to ask you something.
A branded. And an outsider at that, judging by the lack of manners. Why should I help you, eh? You tell me that.
Because a girl from the village asked me to find her pet, Chloe. Have you seen her?
Chloe, is it? Oh, little Lisette's plaything. Last I saw, the filthy creature was sniffing about the windmill. That girl's old enough to know she should tie her pet up when she's finished playing with it.
The windmill.
Off with you now. I won't have idle branded underfoot.
I have a bad feeling about this. A real bad feeling.
Chloe? More brown than white. You're not Chloe, are you, girl?
No, but I think I did see her.
Is that someone napping on the job? I hope they don't mind the interruption.
They seem a little... those limbs look a little petrified.
Oriflamme, how many bearers suffer to keep your granaries full? The crystal's curse.
Chloe, I was calling you. Didn't you hear me?
What?
Yeah,
Get
okay.
up now. You've slept long enough. It's time to go home. Chloe? Why did you already turn into a rock? I only made you do a bit of magic. You knew you were my favorite. None of the other Chloes had pretty hair. It could be months before Dad gives me another one. I have to wait until they're too tired to work anymore.
Is that all she was to you? A plaything? Do you really not care that she's dead?
She's not dead. She's a rock.
That? The crystal's curse? That's just how she died. And now she's gone forever. Giving another bearer her name won't change that.
No, don't say that.
It's true. And without that brand, she would have been just another girl. Somebody's daughter. Just like you.
Dad said bearers don't have parents.
They do. Parents that give them away. Families they'll never see again. But you became Chloe's family when you took her in. Remember that. And remember her.
Yeah, that went exactly where I thought it was probably gonna go.
I'm so sorry.
Okay.
If the people of Moor are as intolerant as Isabel says, it's no wonder the Empire never sent my unit here.
And yet, apparently, we can buy from the merchant. Hello, merchant.
Buy, sell, or be gone.
Oh, heatwave cooldown reduction. That is good. Do I not have that already, though? I think I do. But I'll buy some potions.
Go on, take it.
I should probably equip that belt I found as well. Come to think of it. While slaying a demon merely returns its soul to the hell whence it came until such time as it is summoned to inhabit a new host, taming a demon is a much more effective means of dampening its evil influence on the corporeal plane. By luring and trapping the undying spirit of Hellspawn into the accoutrements worn on one's person, one might also harness their power and channel a portion of one's own. Neat.
Weren't expecting any new branded until the new moon.
You don't think he's a deserter, do you?
Pull that clean, you good-for-nothing sluggard!
Bertrand. The dame sent me.
Sounds about right. Only time I hear from her is when she wants something. Well, go on then. What is it?
One of her courtesans has gone missing, and I need to find her. A soldier who may have information on her whereabouts is rumored to have come here to meet with a trader.
Many traders stop to peddle their wares on their way to the capital, but only one's been seen quarrelling with a soldier.
Is he still here?
The trader? Oh, yeah. Stubborn sod stood his ground till the soldier got tired of shouting, from what I hear. If you seek him out, keep your head down. Fact is, folks round here would sooner hang a branded than help him. And that's even with the dame's brooch for protection.
Understood.
Right then.
What's this? A branded? Where's your master? Must I call for a constable?
I come to you from Northreach, at the behest of the dame. Perhaps you've heard of her.
Why, of course I have. I am the good lady's servant. What is it that she requires of me?
Rumor has it you were seen arguing with a soldier some few days ago. A soldier with a scar over his eye.
Yes, that's right. He had a comb which he claimed was an antique. Said he wanted to trade it for a newer one. But old though it was, an antique it most certainly was not, as I told him. Nevertheless, he insisted that it was of great value and was quite vehement about my appraisal. I stood firm, however, and for all his bluster, he still purchased a new comb, albeit an inexpensive one.
And do you know where he went after that?
My customers aren't usually in the habit of telling me whither they are bound, but as it happens, this one did. Yonder ruins, strange as it may sound.
My thanks.
Not at all. I would do anything for the dame. Anything.
Ah, tier 3 subscriber, I see.
Be sure and tell her, won't you, that I was helpful. I mean, most helpful.
You are fortunate to have fallen into the dame's good graces, but her influence wanes the further you stray from Northreach. Remember that, my wayward lamb.
Please don't call me that. It sounds flirty, and I don't like it.
It smells of death here, Torgal. Wolves.
Yeah, it does.
We can't let them get any closer to the village.
Don't let the guns in.
Well, at least he's dead too.
Bodies. A man and a woman. Well, the wolves have been busy. But the blood is long dry. So it is you, Tatienne.
If that's true, then the body next to hers will be Yannick's. The girl Yannick went off to see every night. He said her name was Tatienne.
You? Did you follow me?
Now, why would I do that? Unless you think I'd have good reason to. But no. I was sent to find Yannick. By the looks of things, I have.
We both found who we were searching for.
Nah, he was a jealous sod. Couldn't stand the thought of his woman with someone else. Then one day he sees her with a new comb. Thinks she's got herself a new gallant. Tells the garrison he's going to find the man and kill him. We know it's all talk, but then he disappears off to more for some dealings and doesn't come back.
If you mean this comb, it was a gift from the dame.
If only Yannick had bothered to ask, eh? He might not be rotting on a hill.
I'm okay with him rotting on a hill.
I think he meant to ask us something else. He stole the old comb and bought her a new one in the hope they'd wed.
Wed? Where would they have gone? Certainly not back to Northreach with a dame waiting. And we all know what happens to deserters. Tell the dame I'm sorry for her loss. When the lads come to collect Yannick's body, I'll see that Tatienne is delivered to the Vale.
Is that wise?
Oh, there won't be any covering up this mess. The most we can hope for is that the dame doesn't hold it against us. Speaking of which, I saw her in Moor just now. Could you tell her what happened? Might sound better coming from you.
No, I don't think it will. Again, brutalized bodies of sex workers.
Perhaps the comb will give us something to remember Tatienne by.
So this is a thing the game has already done once with Benedicta, where it heightens the misery and tragedy and like the grounded grittiness of the world by like showing specifically violence against women and often sexually charged violence. That's what happened with Benedicta. Is like they basically threatened her with rape and then she went insane. And here again, it's this thing of like sexual romantic jealousy and like women primarily as the victims of that, which is like it's just such a tired trope when it comes to sex worker characters.
If it was a message that needed delivering, I could have seen to it, my lady.
Of course you could, had it not been personal.
It's just one of those really tired tropes that sort of, and that's what I was talking about. Like, is like sex work and sex workers are workers, same as anyone else. It's labor, same as any other kind of labor. It can be abusive and exploitative, and it can be freeing and empowering, depending on the circumstances. And narratives and stories, though, have a tendency to hyper-focus on tragedy when it comes to sex work. On sex workers as vulnerable, precarious, people in need of protection, people who are the subject of brutalization. Even when they're sympathetic stories, they sort of tend to focus on sex workers as these wretches in need of help. And we don't get that many stories that cast sex workers as characters with full agency in their own lives, right? Like, they have a tendency to be like, the classic thing is like crime fiction, right? Like every other fucking crime novel, every other fucking noir novel is like a sex worker has been murdered and no one cares except the hard-bitten detective with a heart of gold who cares about the downtrodden and the brutal. And it's like, and it's not like it's not true that sex workers lead lives of precarity. That it's not true that they're vulnerable to violence, especially from the police. Like, there's a lot of like, one of the primary threats of violence and sexual violence to sex workers, statistically speaking, tend to be the police, for example. It's not like that's not a true thing. It's just when that is the only lens through which sex workers are portrayed, that also makes it easy to infantilize them. It also makes it easy to pass laws and like to have a culture that just sort of assumes, well, these are all like brutalized, sad women who need to be rescued from their own lives, right? And so that's when you get like, and it's not like media causes that sort of thing to happen. It's an interplay between culture and media, but it does contribute to the culture we have where.
A message that needed delivering.
Yes. Okay. Fine. It contributes to the culture we have where sex workers are seen as things in need of rescue, things in need of protection, and not so much people with agency over their own lives. Like, if this cultural presumption that we have that if anyone does sex work ever, it's because they have somehow been forced into it in a way that is philosophically and ontologically distinct from the way that we are all forced into labor, right? Like, we're all forced to work to survive, but if it's sex work, then we sort of treat that as a different thing. Like, that's a separate thing which is worse and which needs to be outlawed because it is immoral and wrong that anyone is ever forced to do sex work. But then we'll go, okay, now that you're out of sex work, we have rescued you. You are now forced to take a job working some other kind of labor, right? Like, and we never draw the connection that, hey, maybe compulsory labor of all kinds is bad, actually. And definitely compulsory sex work is bad, but it's not bad because it's sex work. It's bad because it's compulsory. And maybe it's also bad that labor itself, in general, is just something we're forced to do, regardless of whether we want to. Maybe that's a bad thing overall. And maybe it's not just that sex work is bad, but the fact that people are forced to work just to live is bad. Maybe if we fixed that, and it's like, and so there is this culture of infantilization, this culture of paternalism when it comes to sex workers, where sort of everyone and their grandmother believes that they know what's best for sex workers, and sex workers themselves are very rarely asked about it. They are very rarely included as voices in the conversation about what should be done about the problems with sex work, right? And stories like what we've discussed, stories that cast sex workers as these brutalized, tragic wretches on the edges of society who suffer so badly all the time, and everything's precarious and dangerous. It creates this narrative where, like, we can sort of do whatever the fuck we want to them because we are always rescuing them from something that's worse, right? We are always saving them from something that's worse than whatever condition we put them into when we prevent them from doing sex work. And it's like it's this thing of like where you equate all sex work to trafficking, for example, right? Like if anyone does sex work, it's because they were trafficked into it. It must be. They must have been forced to do it by criminals, because that's the only reason why anyone would ever do it. And when you think that way, you sort of miss out on all the other reasons why someone might do sex work. For example, sex work is very common for people who are trans, and part of the reason for that is that it's disproportionately, wildly more difficult for a trans person to be part of the regular labor force because they're subject to a lot of discrimination. Same thing goes for disabled people. A lot of disabled people end up doing sex work because sex work is the only form of labor where they can accommodate their own disabilities. Whereas if they went to work at Starbucks or if they went to work at an office or whatever, those workplaces would not necessarily accommodate their disabilities. Like if they have like chronic fatigue syndrome, if they have like some sort of mobility disability that needs to be accommodated, and that's kind of crucial for their quality of life, they can't necessarily get that in a regular workplace, but they can if they are sex workers and either self-employed or work for like a relatively reputable brothel. They can accommodate for their disabilities. And so sex work becomes a thing which, like, if they had other options, maybe they wouldn't do it. But you can't just take that away from them and then be like, I have improved your life, because there might be a reason why that's the place they ended up. Like, there might be a reason why they chose to go there, because there were certain advantages to it that they couldn't get anywhere else that were more important to them, right? And again, so long as you have this cultural narrative that sex workers are these brutalized, poor, like tragic creatures in need of rescuing from whatever the fuck is happening to them, you miss out on those angles. Like, you miss out on those aspects. If you want to save someone who has chosen sex work to accommodate for their disability, what you need to do at the very least is provide them with another form of work that accommodates equally for their disability. Like, that's the very, very least you can do. It's not enough just to say, you are not allowed to do sex work anymore. We're going to shut down the brothel. We're going to make it illegal for anyone to purchase sex from you. And now you're saved. There we go. Your life is improved. Because you haven't improved their life, right? Like, you haven't saved them from fucking anything. You've made them exponentially more precarious in their lives. And they're probably going to continue doing sex work because, again, you haven't ameliorated the conditions that push them into that. But now they have to be afraid of the police while they do it. Now they have to go to like the seediest and most criminal parts of society to find clients, because it has become a crime to purchase sex work from them. This is the problem with the Nordic model. I can rant about this for hours. Like, the infantilization of sex workers in society is infuriating. It's infuriating. the way that we treat sex work as this moral hazard from which any action is justified to rescue people, because like, it's more complicated than that. Like, and I'm not saying sex work is good ontologically. I'm not saying it's great. I'm not saying it's wonderful. I'm not saying it's like an empowering thing that everyone should do. Of course it's not. But it's like, it's labor. It is a form of labor. It needs to be treated that way.
To it, milady.
You are still in one piece, I see. You will be pleased to hear that your companions have arrived. They said they would meet you at a little chapel to the east of here.
Thank you, but you needn't have come all this way just to tell me. I was on my way to see you.
You found her then? I see. My dear Tatienne. It is by no means uncommon for a client to fall for a courtesan. Especially a client who's young and far from home. But rarely do such tales have happy endings.
I found this with Tatienne. I believe it was yours.
Thank you for returning it. I shall see that it has a place on her pyre.
I should go.
Before you do, I have one last gift. A token of my thanks. The Vale counts among its patrons several high-ranking officers of the Imperial Army. According to one of the looser-tongued gentlemen, it would appear that the legions are planning to march south.
Otto mentioned the same thing.
But did he mention that it was all of the legions? This is no mere skirmish. Were I to guess, I'd say the Emperor planned to abandon the capital. But that couldn't possibly be true now, could it? Take care, Clive.
I will. And thank you again.
Right then. Probably a good place to cut an episode. And just so that I'm absolutely fucking clear about what I'm saying, no one who does not want to do sex work should ever be forced to do it. But the way to prevent that from happening is, like, not to simply try and eliminate sex work as a form of labor, because it doesn't work, it has never worked, it will never work, and all it does is make the people who depend on sex work more, like, shove them further into precarity and difficulty, and it doesn't help. Anyway, probably enough out of me for now, because the episode is long enough as it is. Oh, good God. If you've enjoyed hanging out in the world of Final Fantasy XVI with me, you can hit the like, comment, and or subscribe buttons down below. If you're watching on Twitch, you get more Final Fantasy XVI right now, but if you want more Final Fantasy XVI right now on YouTube, well, become a member of the channel, because there might be some episodes available in early access. Subscribe on Twitch to get access to the VODs from the streams, including, you know, the long lead up in the start of every stream where I sit around just ramble about stuff rather than actually play the game, if that's interesting to you. But outside of that, thank you for watching. Remember to be kind to one another, have solidarity with those who are worse off than yourselves, and may the tides of history wash gently over us all.